Welcome to Catholic Mom Talks. Worry is always a problem. I mean, as a mom, as a dad, as a grandma, grandpa, friends, we worry about people we love. Maybe they're in trouble. Maybe they're doing things they're not supposed to be doing, living a lifestyle that we don't necessarily agree with, right? And we worry about them. We worry about them when they go in the car, in their first times driving. And I mean, there's a million worries we have, right? And I think it's so important to note that if we live our lives in God, we have to trust. We have to trust Him. And we have to pray for them, but we have to hand them over to God. We have to hand them over to God. And there's an old saying, worry is useless. What is needed is trust. A lot of times we go through crosses, heavy crosses, trials, and sometimes we feel like we can't keep going. I mean, how are we going to get through some of these things? Maybe a loved one is sick or dying, or you're having to take care of someone that's sick. I've been through that. I had both of my parents. My mother got very, very ill, and I took care of her for a couple of years, and she did pass away. She suffered with multiple problems, and it's very, very difficult, especially when you're in the situation, because you're kind of like on autopilot, right? You're not sleeping, maybe you're not eating properly, maybe you're trying to take care of your family and take care of a loved one, an older parent, and it can become almost impossible. But I can tell you this, that when I was in my most desperate moments, when I didn't think I could keep going, I would go to Jesus and say, Jesus, I can't do this anymore. Please help me. And He always, always sustained me. In the case of my father, I had my father at home. I was taking care of my father. He'd had multiple strokes. He was having heart failure. And I was trying to take care of him at home. My worst nightmare was to put him in a rest home, right? And I was afraid, very much afraid to do that. I didn't want to do that. But there comes a time sometimes in your life when you are no longer able to take care of your loved ones. I know in my case, it was getting too dangerous to keep my dad at home, because he would forget that he had fallen and broken his back. And he would forget because of the stroke and try to get up, and then he'd almost fall. And no matter how much I barricaded him in, with the bed rails and that type of thing, I couldn't contain him. It was impossible. It was 24-hour care around the clock, and I could only do so much, So I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, just take care of this. Please take care of this. And I landed up having to place him in a convalescent home, long-term nursing care, but it was with the sisters, the Carmelite sisters, and they were like angels, literally like angels. God could not have sent him to a better place. And even though it was very heartbreaking for me, I had to let go and let God take care of him. God wants what's best for him. He wanted what was best for all of us. And He knew what we could do and what we could not do. And never feel guilty about what is impossible. I guess that's the best way to say it. Never feel guilty about the impossible. You can only do what's humanly possible and what's within your power. The rest you have to give up to God. You have to surrender the people you love to God. You have to trust that God will take perfect care of them. And He will too if we ask Him. Remember, worry is useless. What is needed is trust. God bless you all. Have a beautiful evening.